the afternoon of July 5, 2012, a frantic 911 call shook Staten Island. A husband returned home to find his wife, a beloved teacher, dead at the bottom of their stairs. She had been brutally stabbed 15 times in a horrific scene, blood staining the steps. The trashed house pointed to a terrifying home invasion or violent gang retaliation. But what investigators found hidden in plain sight was far more sinister. The chilling truth is, the monster was no stranger. What happened next would ignite a fire of rage in everyone who heard the story. Before the horror unfolded, there was a beautiful, vibrant life. Seminette Mapes, affectionately known as Sissy to her loved ones, was a radiant 29-year-old woman whose presence could easily light up any room. Born into a close family, she possessed an infectious smile that never seemed to fade. Sissy was completely in love with life. She had a kind heart, a gentle spirit, and a massive obsession with all things Disney. For her, the world was a place of magic, and she dedicated her days to sharing that warm light with everyone who crossed her daily path. Her true life calling was always found within the classroom. After finishing her education, Seminette became a social studies teacher. She chose to work in some highly complex and rough neighborhoods across Brooklyn. Where others might have felt intimidated or overwhelmed, she saw pure potential. She never backed down from the challenge. Instead, she leaned in, determined to make a real difference. She was deeply invested in her female students, founding the Girls Leadership Club to teach young women confidence. Beyond that, she started the Fairy Godmother Project, providing free prom dresses to underprivileged teenagers who could not afford them. It was within those bustling school halls that she met a man named Jonathan Krupe. He was an English teacher, and the two quickly bonded over their shared passion for helping students. To Simonette, he seemed like her absolutely perfect match, a kind and ambitious partner who fully understood her world. Their romantic relationship blossomed beautifully. In 2007, they tied the knot in a stunning Cinderella-style wedding, fulfilling her lifelong dream of a perfect, magical happy ending. They appeared to be the picture-perfect couple destined for greatness. They purchased a cozy condo together in New Springville. This neighborhood in Staten Island became their peaceful suburban sanctuary. They settled into their beautiful love nest, bringing 2 dogs into their home. To the outside world, they truly had everything figured out. Her parents, John and Theresa Mapes, were absolutely thrilled for their daughter. They completely adored Jonathan and welcomed him into their tight family with wide open arms. John and Theresa loved him deeply, treating him exactly as if he were their very own flesh and blood son. He was a constant staple at all their family dinners, holidays, and frequent weekend celebrations, always wearing a bright smile. Everything looked absolutely flawless on the glossy surface. Her busy days were filled with loud laughter, creating detailed lesson plans, and making big future dreams. The Mapes family truly believed their beloved daughter was living her happy ending in total suburban peace. They felt immense pride just watching her thrive every single day. However, little did they know, the fairy tale was rotting from the inside out. The months leading up to the tragedy revealed a much darker reality hidden behind their beautiful suburban life. Simonette thought she was building a bright future with an equal partner, but Jonathan was truly living a completely double life. Both of them were actively supposed to graduate with their important master degrees at the exact same time. It was supposed to be a massive shared milestone for the ambitious young teaching couple. When the local college finally sent out the official printed list containing the names of the students who were about to receive their hard-earned diplomas, Simonette eagerly scanned the paper. Her heart sank when she realized her husband was entirely missing from the graduation registry. She confronted him immediately, demanding to know what was going on. Looking directly into his wife's eyes, Jonathan delivered an incredibly bizarre excuse. He claimed with a completely straight face that the university had simply misspelled his name, And that was the only reason he was left off the printing list. Semonette wanted to believe him, but a strong, nagging feeling of dread settled deep in her stomach. The terrible doubts completely consumed her. One dark evening, driven by her rapidly growing suspicions, she bravely decided to look through his cell phone call log. What she found there quickly shattered her entire world into a million tiny pieces. She discovered a very long list of frequently dialed unknown numbers. Trusting her sharp gut instinct, Semonette carefully dialed one of the highly contacted digits. A mysterious woman who went by the strange alias Miss Pumpkin answered the line. While the brief conversation did not reveal everything right away, Simonette knew deep down that her husband was being wildly unfaithful to her. The absolute, devastating truth eventually came pouring out into the open light. Jonathan had completely dropped out of his master program a long time ago. Worse, he was actively diverting massive amounts of money from their joint banking accounts. He had secretly drained over $50,000 of their hard-earned savings to pay for multiple escort services. The money meant for their shared future, their home, and his supposed education was entirely gone, wasted on his hidden double life. The tension inside their house became absolutely unbearable. Simonette was now completely heartbroken and utterly disgusted by his endless web of lies. Their once perfect marriage was instantly pushed to the absolute brink of total collapse. She could not tolerate the extreme betrayal. She bravely confronted him about the missing $50,000 and the escorts, forcefully threatening him with an immediate divorce. She was extremely close to actively consulting a legal lawyer right away to officially separate from her cheating husband. I gotta be honest with you. Finding out the person you vowed to spend your life with is draining your future to pay for escorts is devastating. I'm curious, how would you feel if this happened to someone you love? Let me know below what stands out to you most. On the tragic morning of July 5, 2012, a chilling and calculated plan reached its horrifying conclusion. Jonathan Krupe did not just snap in a moment of blinding anger. He meticulously plotted the permanent elimination of his beautiful wife. Digital evidence later exposed his incredibly dark state of mind in the days leading up to the horrific event. Searching the deep internet, he typed deeply sinister phrases into his computer browser. He specifically looked up how to slash throat and later searched how to clean up a crime scene using Clorox to get rid of DNA traces. He was strictly preparing for a total, absolute slaughter. He wanted to end here that he would never be caught by the investigating police force. While Simonette slept peacefully in their shared home, completely unaware of the looming danger, her husband turned into a cold-blooded monster. Medical examiners and police investigators later determined that her actual time of death occurred somewhere between 2 o'clock in the morning and 7:30 in the morning. This verified timeline completely shattered the lying narrative Jonathan would later attempt to sell to the reporting authorities. The sheer brutality of the attack was absolutely staggering. Simonette was violently pushed down a flight of stairs inside her own sanctuary. As she fought for her life, she suffered a defensive wound on her ring finger, a heartbreaking sign that she desperately tried to block the blade. The monster then mercilessly stabbed his wife 15 distinct times. The relentless strikes punctured her lung, her aorta, and her jugular vein. She slowly bled out on the cold floor of the very home they built together, her precious life tragically and violently stolen by the exact man she had always loved and trusted the absolute most. It was a scene of unimaginable horror and profound betrayal. Hours later, a phone call shattered the world of her adoring parents. When Jonathan finally dialed their number, his voice lacked any genuine panic or deep sorrow. He sounded completely robotic and incredibly hollow as he delivered the soul-crushing news. According to her mother, Theresa Mapes, he just coldly repeated the same horrifying phrase over and over again on the line.
1 o'clock, what do I see? Jonathan had called my cell phone. 5 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was him. When I answered, he said, I'm sorry. Simonette is dead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I said, what did you do?
The sheer gravity of those spoken words hit Theresa like a massive physical blow. The absolute devastation caused her to completely collapse to the ground in pure agony.
I get there and I see all the police. I get out and I see Teresa. I go to Teresa and she says they killed our baby. They killed our baby, and I grabbed her and Teresa fell.
It is a raw, agonizing wail of a mother whose entire universe had just been brutally ripped away without warning. The loving family was instantly plunged into a suffocating nightmare of endless grief and deep, terrifying confusion. However, the absolute deepest, darkest depths of his pure, unadulterated evil were still yet to be fully uncovered by the working police. This is where the story takes a dark turn, because his actions after the murder defy all human logic. While his beautiful wife lay cold on the floor of their Staten Island home, soaking in her own blood, Jonathan Krupe did not reach for the phone to call for help. Instead, he initiated a sickeningly calm and highly calculated routine to build his fake alibi. At exactly 6 minutes past 10 in the morning, he walked out the front door, leaving the horrific scene behind him. He drove out to Brooklyn and actually purchased a ticket to watch the hit Broadway musical Wicked at a local discount theater. He sat in the dark auditorium, pretending everything was perfectly normal. After the show ended, he casually strolled through 5 different retail shoe stores, pretending to browse for footwear just to ensure he was caught on various security cameras. He was meticulously laying down a false trail of breadcrumbs for the police. But the absolute most shocking detail of his sick, twisted morning was still yet to come. Shortly after leaving the shoe stores, he picked up his cell phone and made a deliberate call to his favorite paid companion, the woman known as Miss Pumpkin. He arranged a quick rendezvous with her. At exactly 40 minutes past 12 in the afternoon, while his murdered wife remained dead at the bottom of their staircase, he met the escort at a local comfort inn. He spent his time intimately engaging with her, acting completely unfazed. What struck me the most was the pure, frigid calculation. Leaving your wife's lifeless body on the floor to go watch a Broadway show and meet an escort. It's unimaginable. After completing his chilling daytime errands, he finally drove back to his quiet suburban neighborhood. He had completely ransacked the condo earlier that morning, pulling out drawers and throwing precious belongings everywhere to make it look like a highly violent robbery gone horribly wrong. At exactly 20 minutes past 2 in the afternoon, he walked inside and dialed 911. He put on the performance of a lifetime, acting like a completely terrified and heartbroken husband who just stumbled upon pure horror. When the responding police officers quickly arrived at the bloody scene, Jonathan immediately tried to deflect the blame. He pointed investigators toward a completely fabricated gang retaliation theory. He told detectives that a few weeks prior, Simonette boldly posted a fiery status on her Facebook page complaining about some wannabe street thugs causing trouble near the Cypress Hill housing projects. He brazenly suggested that these local gangsters tracked her down and brutally ended her life for speaking out. The responding detectives carefully walked through the destroyed rooms, taking detailed notes of the incredibly suspicious mess. He stood there weeping fake tears, telling the uniformed officers that his loving wife was an innocent victim of street violence. He thought his master plan was absolutely flawless. He truly believed he had successfully outsmarted every single person in the room. He figured the local police would immediately chase after ghosts in the projects, leaving him totally free. The public performance of a grieving widower was absolutely Oscar-worthy. At Simonette's funeral on July 10, 2012, Jonathan put on a chillingly convincing show for everyone. He wept hysterically in front of the massive crowd of mourning family members, deeply saddened students, and completely heartbroken friends. He clutched a rosary tightly in his violently shaking hands and dramatically kissed 2 red roses before gently placing them on her wooden casket. Everyone thought they were watching a completely broken man whose entire universe had just collapsed. But behind closed locked doors, the grieving husband Fackhead instantly vanished. That very same night, while the devastated family was still drowning in unimaginable sorrow, he comfortably slept on the sofa at the home of his wife's parents. Instead of shedding real genuine tears, he coldly demanded to eat a large pizza. When John and Theresa desperately pressed him for any logical answers about who could have ever done this to their precious daughter, his dark response was utterly devoid of any human emotion. It was a staggering display of cruel callousness that immediately raised massive red flags for her grieving mother and father. His chilling behavior did not just stop right there. Shortly after completely burying his beautiful wife, he permanently moved back into his own parents' house. While they were away at work, he actively continued his sick double life, bringing the exact same paid escort over to sleep right in his own mother's bed. Meanwhile, the highly seasoned detectives were rapidly putting the scattered pieces together. The local police walked through the completely trashed apartment and quickly noticed something incredibly glaring missing. There was absolutely no true sign of any forced entry. The front door was not kicked in, the locks were perfectly intact, and the broken items looked deliberately tossed rather than genuinely ransacked during a frantic and violent robbery. The violent gang retaliation theory completely fell apart under basic police scrutiny. Realizing the home invasion was totally staged, the lead investigators officially shifted their heavy focus directly onto the husband. Armed with perfectly valid and completely legal search warrants, the state authorities swiftly moved in to directly seize his electronic devices. They officially confiscated his cell phones, his personal computers, and every single piece of digital equipment he owned. When they carefully cracked open his hidden laptops, they certainly did not find a grieving man desperately looking for answers or clinging to old memories. Instead, they quickly uncovered a massive, incredibly damning trail of digital breadcrumbs that completely destroyed his meticulously crafted alibi. The horrifying internet web searches about cleaning bloody crime scenes and covering tracks were securely logged right there in his browser history, completely exposing the terrifying monster hiding in plain sight. The walls finally closed in on Jonathan Krupe in November of 2012 when police officers officially placed him under arrest for the brutal slaying of his wife. After years of agonizing waiting for the devastated Mapes family, the highly anticipated trial finally commenced in the scorching summer of 2015. The courtroom was heavily packed with grieving relatives and furious friends who desperately wanted answers. Prosecutors laid out a highly compelling circumstantial case, carefully highlighting his twisted double life, his missing money, and his chilling internet history. But the most explosive moment of the entire trial arrived when the prosecution called their star witness to the stand. The woman known to the court as Miss Pumpkin bravely stepped up to testify against her former client. Under intense questioning, she provided devastating details that completely destroyed his meticulously crafted timeline. She calmly confirmed to the massive courtroom that she met him at exactly 40 minutes past 12 in the afternoon on the very day Simonette was brutally slaughtered. Most importantly, she testified that when he completely undressed in that motel room, she saw absolutely no scratches, no deep bruises, and no defensive marks anywhere on his entire physical body. If he had actually fought off a violent gang of intruders, like he loudly claimed, he would have been covered in massive injuries. She also dropped another massive bombshell on the silent gallery. She revealed that during one of their later meetings, he literally broke down crying and shockingly admitted to her that the slain Brooklyn school teacher constantly shown on the local television news was indeed his newly deceased wife. The emotional trial dragged on for 5 long weeks, forcing the heartbroken Mapes family to painfully relive the absolute worst day of their entire lives over and over again. After listening to all the highly damning evidence, the grim testimony, and the endless web of cruel lies, the jury finally retreated to carefully deliberate his ultimate fate. They did not need much time to see right through his fake mask. After just 2 short hours of deliberation, the 12 jurors marched back into the tense courtroom and delivered their final verdict. They officially found the arrogant Jonathan Crupi completely guilty of brutal second-degree murder. Right before the stern and honorable judge handed down the final official punishment, the convicted killer was given one final opportunity to address the packed court. Instead of finally showing an ounce of real remorse for the deeply unimaginable and horrific pain he had just caused, he decided to play the ultimate victim one last time. Standing right at the wooden podium, Jonathan coldly looked directly at the absolutely devastated family of his murdered wife and delivered a completely sickening statement. He said, "My lies and infidelity should never have played out in such a public forum. I'd like to apologize to my wife's family. There is one thing I cannot apologize for. I did not kill her. I am an innocent man." The presiding judge did not buy his arrogant performance for a single second. The court firmly handed down a highly justified sentence of 25 years to life in a maximum security state penitentiary. The convicted murderer was officially locked away, and he will not even have a remote chance to politely ask a parole board for his freedom until the distant year of 2037. In 2019, his high-priced defense attorney aggressively filed a formal legal appeal, desperately arguing that the initial search warrants to look through his personal electronics were completely illegal. Thankfully, the appellate Supreme Court immediately rejected that ridiculous argument, ensuring the guilty verdict remained perfectly intact, keeping him firmly locked behind bars forever. Despite his massive legal defeat, his stunning arrogance continued right inside the cold gray walls of the Clinton Correctional Facility. Just a few short months after being securely incarcerated, the cold-blooded killer shockingly posted a public personal advertisement on a prison pen pal service. The brazen inmate was actively looking for a brand new girlfriend to pass the time. In his highly disturbing online profile, he repeatedly claimed that he did not commit murder and that he was merely an innocent man who fell victim to a highly corrupt judicial system. When Theresa Mapes caught wind of this absolute disrespect, she was rightfully outraged. She immediately picked up her phone and directly called the high-level prison officials. The fiercely protective mother demanded they permanently take the advertisement down, warning the correctional officers that her former son-in-law was a deeply dangerous and highly unstable individual. She chillingly reminded them of a terrifying incident from the past when he had intentionally broken the back of Simonette's innocent pet dog, not just once, but 2 separate times. Thanks to her relentless pressure, the facility quickly removed the incredibly offensive post from their prison systems forever, stopping his sick, manipulative games. While he rots away in his tiny concrete cell, the beautiful legacy of Simonette Mapes continues to shine incredibly bright. Her devoted parents created a very special online memorial group named Ripe Simonette Sissy Mapes. Today, that digital sanctuary holds thousands of active members. Former students, close family, and lifelong friends constantly share wonderful stories, post beautiful pictures, and keep the memory of their beloved teacher alive and well each single day. They firmly ensure that the unimaginable darkness of her tragic death will never overshadow the brilliant light of her beautiful life story. I couldn't stop thinking about how hard her mother fought, even when he was behind bars, to protect her daughter's memory. Finally, after years of pain, justice was served and the family could begin to heal. The monster is locked away where he belongs. What do you guys think? Does this ending bring you any sense of relief? Thank you so much for watching this video today. I really appreciate your time and constant support. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates. Your engagement means the world to me and helps the channel grow tremendously.